he only
That's
met.
why. That's why.
See, I
Every
think that's
team
a little ridiculous. That brings up a good point too. Is like I think it's a little ridiculous that we have to put in every single player, every single team's player. Like if you're gonna do that, then you have to expand the rosters. Welcome back to another episode of The Rotation with Mike and Jon. I'm Jonathan Sawyer. With me is my brother Mike DeSanto. It's George Costanza episode.
Woo!
Yes, these are my bobbleheads now from Yankee Stadium last weekend. So shout out to the Yankee Stadium for the sweet ass bobbleheads, and shout out to my wife for Chang Gang.
Jane.
Chang Gang.
Chang Gang. I don't have one, but I got Judge's home run shirt, so it's cool.
Yes, I experienced Yankees versus Red Sox for the first time in my life, and it was a lot of highs and ended with a low in the sense of the Yankees blowing a 3-1 lead in the ninth inning. It was a great experience, though. My wife is amazing for this, so I really appreciate her doing that and buying that for me. And it was just an amazing trip. Like I said, fortunately, the game didn't go in my favor. It went in her favor. If anyone doesn't know, she is a diehard Red Sox fan. Yes, I married a Red Sox fan. But it was a great weekend of baseball. Yankee Stadium never seems to disappoint. It is always a great time. Bought this nice chain here, so I wore that the entire game. Got a nice bobblehead for George Costanza night, Seinfeld night, and of course I had to try the 99 burger, which was, as advertised, amazing. But the one thing I would say that they need to add is French fries. They don't give you French fries for $20, and I think that's a little ridiculous. I wish.
Yeah. Just when you told me that, I was like, what? Like, there's not even like I understand not giving you the bucket of fries that comes with the chicken tender thing, which is the next thing I'll be having when I'm at the stadium again.
I was so full. I was trying to I was trying to eat so much there, and I just was trying to mind my diet, but also try to make sure. I walked 17,000 steps that day.
I'd say you burned it. I'd say you burned it.
New York City is it's not a town for me anymore. I just can't. I can't do the fast pace. I can't do the expenses. It's too pricey. Yeah. But I always say this, and I said this to my wife at the game, and I said this to Malin at the game. And if I had a chance to live in New York City or live near there would be no doubt I'd have season tickets to the Yankees. I mean, that's just one sport 100%. And one team I would always buy. I mean, the camaraderie around the environment is incredible. So baseball is in full form here. The Yankees are in a slump right now, 6-16 since June 15th as of this recording, and it is not a very good slide. So let's just hop right into it. Yankees are slumping, Mike, and it's not going good for them. They're not playing very well. What are your thoughts on the team? What needs to change and who needs to get changed?
So, yeah, it's just all around not been great. Even Juan Soto slumping. He hasn't hit fantastic. He's still hitting like 290 at this point. So, I mean, he's still having a good year. Obviously, Judge is Judge. He's doing what he's doing. But we've talked before on you can't just lean on those two to carry you. And this is a lineup that on paper should be able to compete and keep up with run scoring no matter what. But they consistently, and as you have said in the past, 5 through 9 has been a consistent letdown. And it doesn't help that there is a constant rotation, name drop, of bullpen arms. I mean, you and I have watched games at the same time the last few days, and it's literally we've both been like, wait, who is that?
Yeah,
like
just bad.
I don't recognize. It's just new names all the time, and that's all well and good if they're helping, but a lot of them aren't helping. Like it doesn't seem to be changing anything. So
well, they're also throwing guys a lot more. I mean, you got Weaver going out there. I like Weaver. I like his stuff. He was throwing good. I don't like some of the moves they're making. I don't like some of the transitions they're making. Nestor had his best start when I was there. He was really controlling the zone and really moving his slider and curve outside, and his changeup had a lot of good movement on it. Clay Holmes is just a disappointment. I know people are going to look at this and say, yeah, but he has like 28 saves or something like that this season, or something crazy like that. And I understand that numbers are one part of the game, but also you have to look at the situations that he puts himself in. There's a lot of times throughout this season that he would allow two guys on and then bails himself out, and then that's not a good save for me. That's not a good that can't be a good save. Congratulations on being an All Star. The Yankees have three in Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Clay Holmes, but you can't leave guys on. He was missing all his pitches. The reason why they lost, and I kind of had a feeling they were gonna. I was like, I hope the Red Sox, because they weren't hitting the Red Sox that night, and Nestor was mowing them down, and I was like, okay, well, and then when Clay Holmes came in, he looked like he was missing over the plate. Like his miss was leaving it over the plate, and that's not good for a pitcher. That's a great thing for a hitter, terrible for a pitcher, because if you're missing your two seam and your four seam over the plate, it's not going to be good. And exactly what happened. I said that to Malin. I was like, he's missing over the plate. I'm not liking this. And then all of a sudden, boom, tying home run. I was like, fuck. And that was just a disappointment. I think the biggest thing for the Yankees is they need to make a change. There's something has to happen right now, because this has been consistent over 4 years, right? I know everyone's like, it's only been a month. It's only been a month, and I get it. There's a long season. We still got the second half of the season. But this is the same thing that happened last year. Or last year they sucked the entire year. That happened in 22. It happened in 21. And 20 I don't really count. But it's happened consistently around this time. And then they dig themselves into a hole that they can't get out of. Like they just, after the All-Star break is when you're supposed to hit your stride. And every year they start off the All-Star break very slow, losing streaks. And that can't happen. I mean, luckily the All-Star game is this weekend. Gives guys some rest. Hopefully the Yankees get some people back, because something's got to change. Some trades have to happen at the deadline. But kind of like what Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill were saying on the broadcast, there's the biggest thing with baseball right now is there's so much parity in baseball right now that teams aren't willing to give up guys like they used to. There's not like a big difference. There's a big difference between 1 and 2 in the divisions, but then from 2 to 4, it's all a tight race. So any team can really make the playoffs. Look at the New York Mets. New York Mets at the beginning of the season, you would have thought, okay, they're going off. This past month, now they're back in wild card contention, potentially division contention. So when I'm looking at just in general, like the Yankees aren't going to have a lot of moves to make, and what they have to do is get themselves an opportunity to get some relief pitching. They got to get some guys. They got to shake it up. They got to send someone somewhere and make a big splash, because right now, the way they're playing, no one's safe except Judge and Soto and Garrett Cole, potentially.
Yep.
Rodon has been a shell of himself. I don't know what happened. He had that one bad start in Boston, I think it was, when they were at Boston, and it just blew up from there. Cole, I'm giving him, it's a mental thing. I mean, I saw him the other day in Tampa, and he just looked bad. He's just talking to himself all the time. Like, dude, just lean back and throw, bro. Like, stop. The day of and I agree with, David Cohn. He was saying that, the days of guys throwing 100 pitches, and, the problem with a lot of these pitchers is that they're not doing anything on the off days. Now, I don't know that for a fact, right? I don't know what they're doing. We just see them in the dugout, but we don't know what they're doing. But
right. There's going to be a limited number of teams you can make moves with, and there's only really at this point 2 with appealing pitching help that come to mind, and that's the White Sox and the Marlins. Those are the 2 that are coming up most in trade talks, but you're not going to be the only suitor for them. So if you
But
want,
what are you going to give? They're going to want prospects. Those organizations
exactly.
are going to want prospects, and the Yankees have already dumped a lot of prospects, starting pitching prospect to the Padres for Juan Soto. So the biggest thing for me is you have to re-sign Juan at the end of this year. You have to. This is a guarantee, and I don't give a shit what Kyle Steinbrenner said. Don't give me this shit. Oh, we can't afford. I hate that bullshit, man. I hate that. Oh, I
There's
can't.
no cap.
We can't sustain a 300 million. Bro, you make 300. I was at that stadium. I was in that team store. you'll be fine. Trust me. If you give him 500 million over 10 years, you'll be fine. Trust me. Because
Yeah.
right now you need someone like that. And I'll tell you right now, they made a great decision in making resigning Judge because you can see the atmosphere. We talked about it on Cinco Squad last night. Is the fact that, or yesterday afternoon, is that a player can really hold weight to a franchise. Anytime Aaron Judge got up to plate in that game, there was a chance where he got up to play that could potentially hit a home run and win the game. And every time everyone
Mhm.
stands, everyone cheers, everyone's like on the edge of their seat, ready to go. Phones are down, ready, or phones are up or down, whatever it might be. I'm in the moment. I don't like to do that, so I would like to watch the moment. But you need to get that other guy for him because as John Boy said the other day, you're gonna wait. You lose this season, you lose next season. You're wasting his good years, and you're wasting them
Yes.
right in front of you. And he's
Yes.
31 years old, so there's not many more good years left. Hopefully there is, but with a guy at 6'7", at the height, you never know what happens. Injuries come along, whatnot. But hopefully the Yankees can right the ship here after the All Star break that they desperately need. But let's jump into the All Star break. The All Star break
Yes.
is coming up here. Home Run Derby, my favorite time of the year, is on Monday, and there's not a big name splash in the Home Run Derby. It's not like it used to be where you had like the big guys coming in. You had some small guys, but you also had like the 3 to 4 big names coming in baseball that you knew would come in. So I guess Mike, who would you like to see in the home run derby that's not in it this year?
Well, being that we've talked before, I think I mentioned it yesterday on the episode of Cinco Squad when we briefly talked about it. Being that it doesn't seem like you can get a lot of the notable guys to do it, like the stars, the established stars to do it because of one thing or another, whether they don't want to mess with their swing or whether they want to take time or whatever. Fine, let's lean into the future of the game as they have with adding guys like Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr. And I would love to see Ellie De La Cruz in it because the dude is appears to end up being a walking 20-20-30-30 guy moving forward, which is really exciting. He's got the power. He's one of the future stars. He's the face right now of the Cincinnati Reds. So fine, if we're looking to improve the marketing of our stars, especially the next generation of stars, and get people to know it, put a guy like him in that maybe not a lot of non-baseball fans or casual baseball fans are familiar with exactly how much pop he has.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at guys like Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, they've been in these games, right? They've done this, they've
Mhm.
won it, or competed very highly in there. And you can only lean on them for so many years because it does mess up your swing. When you're swinging up all the time, I mean, that's naturally Judge's swing because he's just so damn tall. But the year he won it against Stanton was probably one of the more exciting years and it was in Miami nonetheless, and it was exciting. It was an exciting home run derby. I think we were at school when that happened, and that's how long ago it was. We weren't at school, but it was during that time frame when
Yeah.
that happened. So it was like, damn, okay, that was an exciting ass derby. But what I'm looking at now, like I agree with you, you have to play into the future. You have to play the big stars, and I don't think the MLB is doing a good job of marketing their big stars that are young, right? So what I'm looking at is like a Shohei. Like Shohei did it a couple years ago, and he doesn't have the swing for it because his swing is so pure, and I don't think he wants to mess it up. So mine was kind of similar to you. I want to see O'Neal Cruz. I would like to see those two, the Cruz guys, cruise into the home run derby.
Ooh, nice. I see what you did there. I like
But no,
that.
I would. Those are the two. I mean, those are the two guys I was thinking, and I was like, damn, that would have been a really sweet because they have a lot of pizzazz in themselves. Like watching him play against the Yankees, and I mean, Cincinnati's got a great future with him if they hold on to him.
Mhm.
O'Neal, same thing. I mean, he's just got so much pop, and the two big, I think, in three, maybe less. 2 to 3 years, you're going to see those guys at the top of the home run list, and it's going to be like, damn, what happened to them? And they're coming off. I mean, O'Neal Cruz, I'm going to give him a break because he tore his ACL last year. Ellie De La Cruz came out of the scene last year, so
Mhm.
he's still got a couple of years to kind of still make his name. But those two guys are going to be really powerful names in the MLB in a few years. So, I mean, you cannot continue to lean on the guys that were there because they're not going to want to do it. They want to continue to have the swing, and I think Judge had one of his worst seasons hitting after that because he just after the All Star break, he was not very good.
Yeah, no, it was definitely. I can't remember exactly what year that was, but yeah, it wasn't what we know, especially over the course of the last few years. We know Judge to be now, and I would love to see that final, the Cruz versus Cruz final. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be sweet. I mean, Vlad Guerrero, I'd like to see in there. I know he's done it a bunch of times. Pete Alonso, Polar Bear wants to win it, so I know he's going again this year. It'd be nice to see him there. I mean, there's just the problem is there's a lot of run scoring in MLB right now, but there's a lot of home runs too. But it's not to the effect that it used to be when we were kids. Like when you used to like see the main guys hitting home runs, like Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about A-Rod, you heard about these guys hitting the home runs, and it's like that's all they talked about. It's now so many guys are hitting home runs. It's like obsolete now. Like guys are so much more powerful now, and they're just hitting home runs left and right. I mean, you see the average MLB score. I mean, I think it's like maybe 5 or 6 runs a game, and that's incredible. Like that. I mean, you can't take the under if you're a better betting man and you go to take the under in any of these games and you win. Good for you, man, because like that's hard to do nowadays. I don't know. I would like to see Aaron Judge compete again. He won it in Miami. That was a cool show though, because it was Stanton versus Judge, and it was like the last time Stanton was pretty much a Marlin, and then he was traded. I think that year, actually, no, the year after. I think
Either the next year or the year after that. But
yeah.
yeah, it was
So
either his last or second to last year as a Marlin.
going from the home run derby to the All Star game,
Yeah,
I feel like that's been a big thing lately. Is that the All Star game is, I don't know why, but it just feels like the players have maybe because I'm in tune with the game, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like before I could read off an All Star roster and know every single guy from the bench to the starting lineup. Like I could read past it. I know the guys, but not the everyday fan does. So
right.
which All Star doesn't make sense to you?
It's but far and away. I was looking over the rosters. It's far and away Clay Holmes. I don't understand how he's an all-star. Like you said, I don't want to hear about the fact that he's got X number of saves or whatever, because watch the games. They're not good saves. And I happen to look at relief pitchers, because if you're gonna replace him, you probably want to replace like for like. So you want another relief pitcher. I looked at the relief pitchers that are up around him that didn't make it. And I'm sorry, it is a Boston Red Sox. It's Kenley Jansen. He's got, I think, like
Oh yeah,
four or less saves, but
he's been
his
dominant.
ERA is a whole run lower. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I don't want my closer having a 3 ERA, because that means when he does blow saves, he's giving up a lot of runs. So it doesn't matter if he gets the save. They're scary. He's not the most valuable reliever in the league.
yeah.
He's absolutely not. And Jansen's been great. It's not Kenley Jansen's fault that the Yankees have happened to have put Clay Holmes in more save situations than Boston has.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Clay Holmes still leads the league, I think, in saves. But that's the thing is like that's what people will look at is the number, and it's like, okay, but how does he get to that number? I think you and I had this conversation a while ago, and we kind of you were kind of on that route of thinking, like the guy for Cleveland came in and his numbers were great, and it's like, okay, yeah, his numbers, but the situation he puts himself into to get himself out of that inning, that's where you have to look at, right? Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, Clay Holmes allows a lot of guys on base and allows himself an opportunity to pretty much blow saves. And I don't know. I don't see the value behind a guy letting like Mariano toward the end of his career. It was just like, he's not the same Mariano that he was
right,
before. After that 0-1 World Series where he blew a save, they kind of found out the recipe to kind of beat Mariano. I mean, he still is dominant, right? He still has over 600 saves, and it's still a crazy amount of number, right? He's still the best closer to ever play the game. But you found out what happened, and at the end of his career, he was allowing a lot of guys on. That's what happened in Boston, in 04. That's what happened in a lot of these series. Is that shit happens? I mean, and as a closer, I want the guy to come in and mow him down, and it's not a favorable for pitchers anymore. It's not. You're not giving them the right person. But honestly, like my opinion, like the guy that doesn't deserve to be an all-star right now, he's been hitting as good as of late, but it's Pete Alonso. I mean, Pete right now is hitting 240 with a 774 OPS, 320 on base percentage. He has 18 homers, 48 RBIs. You know, he's having a mediocre year. I mean, I'm sorry, but yeah, he's been playing well the last month, but there's a lot of guys out there. I think there was a guy for Arizona. His numbers are crazy right now. It's either Arizona. I forget what other team there is.
If it's Arizona, it'd be Christian Walker.
I think it's Christian Walker. So
He's a good player.
they were doing the comparisons, and like Christian Walker is dominating in all the statistics, and for him not to get an All Star bid is, let me take a look here. Yeah, I mean he's dominating. He has a better OPS, 263 average, 22 homers, but Christian Walker's name doesn't pull like Pete Alonso's name pulls, right? So
Right.
that's that, and I understand, but as straight numbers guys, Pete Alonso has not had a good year, and he's been very mediocre at until this last month. And I guess it's more or less what have you done for me lately than what have you done for me in total, right? So that's one player I would say is not deserving to be in there, but I get why you put his name in there because his name draws more because I didn't even know who Christian Walker was until that. And, you know, it's like, okay, his name is going to pull. So I get it, but I would have given the nod to Christian Walker.
Well, my other question with that is, did any other Met make it?
No, he's the only
That's
Met.
why. That's why.
See, I
Every
think that's
team
a
has
little
to put it together.
ridiculous. You know, that brings up a good point too. Is like I think it's a little ridiculous that we have to put in every single player, every single team's player. Like if you're gonna do that, then you have to expand the rosters. Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill were kind of hitting on this the other day in the Yankee game, and I don't like the fact that they're disallowing guys that have earned the right to be an All Star. It's an honor, right? It's still an honor, even though the game doesn't mean anything anymore. And when it's still an honor to don that All Star jersey and be a part of that weekend. You know, so you work your ass off and you're told, "Hey, sorry, you're not good enough. We have to give it to Pete Alonso because he's a Met." It's like that's ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a double-edged sword type of thing because it's kind of damned if you do, if damned if you don't, if it as the league. Because if you want to market all of your teams, you want a representative from all of your teams. So I see that side of it. But then, yeah, it's at the cost of guys like Christian Walker and others that are more deserving and are having better seasons, because that's how you get like you said, a subpar player in because their team sucks, but they're the best player on their team.
Well, then expand the rosters. You have the ability to. Like they play
Right.
every guy anyway, so expand the fucking roster. You can do that. You can allow having guys in there that are going to help you know just boost the game. That's why a lot of these guys don't get the name recognition because you're putting I don't know. Just expand the rosters. Put the right players in there. The guys that deserve to be there deserve to be there. Like some of these guys deserve to be starters, and they're on the bench. And it's like, why are they on the bench? Because they got voted in by a fan that doesn't like them, or doesn't get the vote from a fan that doesn't like that team, or a big rival of that team. Like, come on now. Like this is a
Right.
little bullshit in my mind. I think it should definitely have an opportunity to do go to the All Star game because that's an honor in my opinion. Like that's something that you don't get all the time, and if you're the best at that position and you're getting snubbed because of a player that has to be on it from another team, that's ridiculous in my mind.
Yeah. No, it's they need to figure out something. Some
So so taking into consideration of disappointing and not allowing players in there, which division is the most disappointing in the first half?
I mean there's a couple candidates in there, I think, but the one that stood out to me was the NL West because we knew the Dodgers were probably going to be the best team. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously they made the moves on paper to be the best team, but it's the fact that seemingly everyone regressed around them as well. That
Did they?
nobody's contending at all.
Did they?
Yeah, nobody's contending at all. The Diamondbacks made the World Series and they look worse than they did last year.
I mean, they were still 84 and 78 last year. Padres were 82 and 80. Giants were 79 and 83, and there's the Rockies out in left field. So I mean, did they? Is the NLS? I mean, realistically, when I looked at that, I was like, it's the same thing for the past like 5 years and what it looked like. It's pretty much been the Padres at second or the Giants at second, and basically the Dodgers running away with the division like they have been normally. So I don't.
That's what's disappointing to me.
Well, but
Is
like even though the Diamondbacks, I think the Diamondbacks just got hot at the right time last year and built up a good rotation in their pitching staff and allowed them and they started hitting right and they that's the biggest thing about the Diamondbacks last year is they had a good end of the season, and I don't know. I just don't. The division as a whole looks exactly the same every single year. The Dodgers are the most dominant team, and then the rest of them are kind of just falling in place. I didn't expect the Diamondbacks to go compete with the Dodgers in the beginning, like they have been. I expect the Diamondbacks to make a playoff push towards the end, like they did last year, and get in on the wild card, and let their chances be what they may.
yeah, I guess that's what's disappointing to me was I expected or hoped that the Diamondbacks would ride off of that World Series appearance and be hungry because they came that close.
Yeah, but they didn't do really
And
much in the offseason either. I mean,
no,
yeah, they
but
got Jordan Montgomery, but I mean, he's been not been very good, and this year he's been okay this year, right? But they haven't really done much. They didn't do much in the offseason. They have the same exact team. We've been proving that if you don't do much in the offseason to help your team fill those gaps of what was wrong, then you're not going to really have a successful team.
right, but I guess to my point, even the good players they do have haven't been as good.
Yeah,
So, and the Padres went out and actually made moves to improve their pitching, including getting Dylan Cease, who by mid off season was the most outside of Blake Snell, the most prized pitcher on the market as far as like a trade candidate goes. So they actually made moves and it's done nothing for them.
yeah. I mean,
They got rid of Juan Soto because they had Jackson Merrill to step in and be the new outfielder. Jerks and Profar, they signed, if I remember correctly, they signed Jerks and Profar late in the offseason as like a 1 year prove it deal because he couldn't get a deal anywhere else, and he's an all star.
yeah.
And yet here we are with the same old. That's what's most disappointing. Here we are once again with the same old, and now we just wait to see if any of them get a wild card spot because we know the Dodgers are winning the division.
And that's I guess where I'm saying I'm not disappointed because I didn't see the Diamondbacks competing with the Dodgers this year in the regular season or the Padres. I'm more surprised that the Padres are in the second place right now going into the All Star break. I really just didn't expect anybody to compete with the Dodgers. I mean, I guess I did because I said they're not going to make the playoffs, but realistically, I mean, looking at it, it's not surprising to me. I guess the one thing that's surprising to me I mean, it's tough. I mean, a lot of the divisions are very close right now. You look at the fucking AL East. I mean, Baltimore's got a 2-game lead, but the rest are like Yankees 2 games out, 6.5, 12. I mean, Toronto's still 15. I mean, they can still make a good push. They get a good 2-week run, and they're what? Then they'll be 5 games out, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you want to say a division that's most disappointing, probably would have to be the Central because of the push that they had last year. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's very difficult. I mean, so honestly, no. The most disappointing division right now is going to be the I don't even fucking know, man. I couldn't pick one. I was looking all day and I was trying to figure out one. I think if I had to go with one, it's probably going to be the NL East because yeah, Philadelphia is finally coming into fruition of what they're supposed to do. The Braves took a shell of themselves of last year. New York Mets, I mean, they kind of are starting to build up, but the Marlins just to take a tank that they did is kind of upsetting. And I mean, you got the Nationals too, so I mean, you can't even say that because it's hard. I mean, it's hard to kind of gauge what the team because it's
Yeah,
so
yeah, I
damn
get you.
close. And I get why it's hard to trade at the deadline because so many teams are still in contention,
Right,
except the Marlins, White Sox, and Rockies right now. Those are the
right.
3 teams that are outliers that are probably they're not going to make the playoffs, and they're not even close to make the playoffs. But like the rest of the teams, I mean, even if you're 16 games out, a good 2 weeks straight, I mean, even if the Athletics, they make a good run. I mean, shit, they could be right there in the NL West. They could be right there in the wild card spot because now 3 teams
Well,
get in the wild card, and you get a good run in, and boom, then you have a good second half. So if I had to guess, okay, so here's my answer. The biggest disappointment is the AL East because there's been so much hype around the AL East between Baltimore and New York, Toronto, and Tampa that for them to be pretty much 500 teams at this point in the season, the Yankees shouldn't even be close to 500, but they're getting closer and closer by the day. 3-7 in their last. I mean, look at that. I mean, if you just look at their last 10, 5-5 for Baltimore, 3-7 for the Yankees. Boston's the best with 7-3, and then Tampa and Toronto with 4-6. Toronto's most disappointing because they continue to spend money and continue to pay guys and put guys on payroll, and then they just can't perform. Their starting rotation has been abysmal this year, and it's just they had Alek Manoah, who now I think is. He may be working at one of the restaurants there. I don't know at the ballpark
Yeah,
at this point. I don't know
yeah,
what
he
the
yeah
hell he.
he's waiting tables at the hotel in center field.
Yeah, I apparently just keeping part of the organization, but I guess you have to say the AL East because there's so much hype coming around that division coming into this season that division was going to be the most competitive. They're going to put 3 teams into the playoffs. I mean, they still could. I mean, realistically, right now, if you look at the wild card, it's New York and Boston in the wild card and Baltimore, but they were supposed to put all 3 teams for the wild card. They were supposed to put it 4 teams total. And right now, I mean, they're kind of disappointing in that aspect that, Boston is 1 game, a half a game above the Royals. And the Yankees are pretty much 4.5 above everybody else. But I feel like it's just a disappointing division and for the time. But I think they can bounce back after the first half. And I think they have the biggest promise in the second half that the AL East could potentially put 4 teams in the playoffs.
To that point, I've started to see things, and I don't think it's going to happen at this point, but I've started to see things about people expecting Bo Bichette to get traded.
Yeah, I
Like
see
the
that happening.
Toronto's,
He's taking a real big decline. They were looking at the Yankees, but they're not going to give up Volpe for Bo Bichette. That would just be not smart. Volpe's been a great player. He just needs to get back on track. So I don't see that happening. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there right now, and just looking at the standings, and I get why teams aren't going to sell at the trade deadline. This is going to be a very low selling trade deadline this year because there's not a lot of there's not guys are. I mean, I can imagine teams are afraid to sell. I mean, you look at some teams. I mean, Kansas City is still a half a game out of the playoffs in the wild card right now. When's the last time we heard that? 2015.
pretty
Like
much. Yeah.
a lot of these guys. I mean, other than the LA Angels, and I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that are still competing for a wild card spot. And 3 teams that are pretty much done: LA Angels, Athletics, and White Sox. And then on the other side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the NL that are all the most are 5.5 back out of a wild card spot. 5.5 games back.
Yeah.
And that goes down to the Nationals. The Washington Nationals are 5.5 out. The last team. Next team after that is the Rockies and the Marlins are 14.5. So any streak that these guys go on. So if I'm a team, why would I sell at the deadline when I could potentially make a playoff push? If I'm the Marlins, yes, I'm selling. Because that's what they normally do is they sell at the deadline, get themselves some prospects, and then 2 years from now make a playoff push and do their same story over and over and over again. So
and sell it again, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say what's disappointing because it's really close in a lot of divisions.
It all depends on what your expectations of a certain division were, which is why I makes sense to go to the AL East because you expected like all 5 teams are going to keep trading the lead for the division or at least be in contention for the division, and like specifically the Rays and Blue Jays have been disappointing as teams.
I think that's the division that is the most important to win. Is the AL East, and that's bias. I'm being 100% biased. I think if I was in the NL Central, I'd say, but it just feels like that division means the most than anybody else. Everybody else is just happy to get in the playoffs. Where if you don't win the AL East, or you're just basically like a scrub. That's how it's always felt my entire childhood. Like that, if you don't win the AL East, even if you get in the playoffs, you're still a scrub. We still look at you like, okay. It's like you're still just
but you didn't win the division. So.
it's like I still love you. God damn it. Okay, yeah, we'll go watch you.
I guess.
Going back to the All Star Weekend, if you could add one event to the All Star game, what would it be?
Okay, hear me out here. So we have the Home Run Derby, right?
Yeah.
So over in Korea, they do another event. It's called the Bunt Derby.
Oh, where they
Instead
bunt
of home runs, They bunt
like
and
cornhole.
they have like a scoring thing where if you land the ball in a specific zone, it counts for a certain amount of points
That's
and
cool.
things like that. I think that'd be really fun to see guys because you've got these home run hitters. So see guys like, maybe like Trey Turner or Luis Ariz or like these fine tune hitters just laying down bunts and trying to outscore each other. I think that would be an interesting thing to see major league guys do because I've watched a few rounds of like the Korean guys do it and they're pretty good. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how much control they have over their bunts and stuff. So I know they don't seemingly teach bunting or put as much emphasis on bunting anymore, but that's what makes it better because these guys aren't bunting all the time, so they have to like readjust their approach. I think that'd be fun.
All right. Well, here's
What about
mine.
you? All right.
You got to bring in the outfield wall. Mascot home run derby.
Yes, I love it.
Mascot home run derby in their mascot uniform. So like
Of course, it has
got
to be.
like some of them are a little really wide, but like you gotta like I would love to see that. I think that'd be fun. The other thing was like base like how quick you can go around the bases, but I thought that would be like a really fun thing to see. Just
Yeah,
and it's not gotta be long, right? Like you do like maybe 5 outs for each mascot. You do
yeah.
something short. You do the top 4 mascots in the league. They do a voting of it, and 4 top mascots in the league all go home run derby, and it's single elimination round. Like just one round, boom. Whoever hits the most home runs in one round wins. That's it. But I think that'd be so much fun, and if you just bring so much life, and you get the kids involved at the end of the day, because they'd be like, oh look at it's the dude from Philadelphia. I forget his name. What's it?
Oh, the Philly fanatic.
Philly fanatic hitting home runs, and I mean with his big ass belly and stuff. And I just think that would be so much fun to just see that for like maybe just an intermission between the home run derby. Just bring them out, bring the wall in, and have it like 150 feet because it's going to be hard for them to hit it like 400. But I think that'd be so cool.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love that. Either I was thinking, yeah, either in between, like right before the final round of the Derby, or if you really wanted to, you could kick off the Derby like that the first hour.
Hmm.
Like if you want the Derby to start at 8, have the mascot derby at like 7.
Yeah,
Because yeah, it doesn't need to be long. You don't need to have all the mascots or anything like that. But that's right. It's a fun way to get people's energy up, get people engaged, and have a little fun. I suppose in that sense, I would probably say if they're in it, my money would be on either Mr. Met or the Reds mascot because they're the ones that are actually just like a normal body.
yeah.
They don't have as much to swing as far as like the weight of the costume. But yes, that would be fun as hell. I love that idea. They should actually the bunt derby was like that'd be interesting to see major league guys. No, MLB, please listen. If you're out there, any of you listening, please do the mascot derby because
Mascot home run derby,
that would be
one
awesome.
round, 4 mascots, and that's the thing is
Yes.
like that would entice like teams like that don't have mascots, like the Yankees would go
Get a
get a
mascot.
mascot because like
Yeah.
hey we gotta have like and like all donations like I don't know you put some money towards it and like all donations go to their charity or something like the foundation,
Mhm.
something fun that makes it like worthwhile at the end of the day. So like they win like $100,000, and you can even do like I don't know some creative ass sponsor for it. So I think it would be sweet. I think it would be awesome. I think it would get the kids involved, get the families involved, be a good fun. And that's what home run derby is all about: is just having fun, enjoying time. So as we end this show,
Mhm.
who is your pick for the home run derby winner?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, you know what? Because he's just been on fire this year, I'm gonna go with Gunnar Henderson. I think
Yeah,
he's got it.
yeah, he's been crushing it, and he crushed it last year. And I think he was in the home run derby last year, and he hit pretty.
No, you're thinking of Adley Rutschman,
Oh,
who
Adley
was
Rutschman.
also on Baltimore.
You know, I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, it's hard to go against Polar Bear, who's won it twice in 19 and 21. But I'm gonna go Alec Baum from the Philadelphia Phillies. He's been hitting the
Really?
ball very well lately, and yes, he's only got 11 home runs, but I feel like his swing is just pure, and I think he'll just take off. There's always a dark horse in the home run derby, and I think he's that dark horse that's going to come in that you don't expect to hit home runs, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's just like lighting it up. I would love to see Adolis win it, because the hometown kid win the home run derby. I think he's got a lot of power, but I feel like Alec Baum is going to win this year. So make sure you guys tune in. I'm going to actually try to go live during the home run derby. During that, Mike will join me, and we're gonna have a great time. So make sure you guys tune into our socials at Cinco Squad Pod 05. We'll be back here next week for another episode of the Rotation with Mike and Jon, second half of the season. Make sure you guys tune in, and we'll see you guys here next week. Cinco Squad out.